you delivered solid, enduring performances this year that were celebrated, that were enjoyed. I have to start by asking you, Stella Adler, the great acting teacher, said about actors, their talent lies in their choices. Do you agree that it's the choices that an actor makes that contributes directly to his greatness?
I think the key really is when you read what you're going to do, that it's going to be something for you to enjoy, you know, and to somehow cherish. I think is too holy, you know, but to take something, learn something from as well from the experience. To me, that's very, very important when I read a script.
No, I agree actually, and then I have added one more line to it, that talent lies in your choice, and your choices makes your career. Okay. So I think that's pretty much apt for me as well, because you know I'm not here from a filmy background, so I have to be very careful what film I choose, because that's going to take me forward. I can't really go wrong and do three just wrong films, and I know I'll be out of the industry, so I have to be really careful what I'm doing.
I agree with you, you know, coming from a non-filmy background, you know that your yeses and nos to whatever, each installment in your body of work is just as crucial. For me, it's like life and death, you know, those are the biggest choices.
Right. I feel eventually if you have plans for a long career in what it is you're doing, you have to be serious about your choices, regardless of what your background is.
Sure.
But still there's some advantage when you're coming from a film background.
No, not really. I mean, you may get, depending on how your parents are with you, and how you want to exploit them, you know. You might get a first opportunity, but then your work is going to have to speak for itself.
No, absolutely. That,
you know?
your work is going to talk.
Yeah, so I mean, choices really will only happen post that.
Right.
You know, post people recognizing within you that there is something that can be tapped.
Sure.
Also because what you do with your talent, that's where choices comes. You can be immensely talented actor, but the kind of roles you're doing, which doesn't do justice to your talent.
Right.
Then you know, because you are remembered by your roles. You know.
Correct.
Sometimes people confuse between the role and the performance.
That's right.
I mean, the role does impact, creates kind of impact, and they people confuse it. You know, they think that actor has done that.
Right. But it's been written very well.
It's written very well.
Right. Have you had another job before you joined the movies?
No, before film, not really. I've always been an assistant. I was an assistant director from 91. Actually, I became an assistant cinematographer. In 94, I became an assistant director. And then I stayed an assistant director till I wrote Dil Chahta Hai, and then I made that film in 2000. So I've constantly been working in film on some level.
Irrfan?
I was doing tuition, you know, I had to buy my bicycle, and I didn't have money. So I used to go and teach 2 kids, I still remember. So that was my job. You know. I was trying my hands in different things. I was trained in this AC mechanic, you know, so I was dreaming of going abroad and earning money and things like that. So once I did my training, I had to go for practical thing. So once I was in Bandra, and I was like apprentice. So I went inside that house, and somebody said, "Ki wo AC wala aaya hai." So that I will never forget in my life. That was the end of that, you know, whole my training. I did with all my heart. I did the training, and that sentence, I it didn't encourage me to continue that.
Right.
But sir, now you're one of the coolest actors.
There you see.
So maybe AC has played a role in
that.
me being cool.
Since they're being cheesy, I can defend it.
I got it.
Well, I used to teach dance to a few kids in my neighborhood, just to have some extra pocket money. That was the only job I did. Then I was always an actor, like since my school days.
Right.
So I started doing theatre during graduation, and then I moved to FTI, so it was always acting after that.
Okay.
So I used to be a copywriter, an intern in a music channel. I used to work in a coffee shop. I had a lot of bad habits in university. So in order to support them, I used to have to do odd jobs. So I was in a coffee shop, long hair, dark skin in America. So it was a lot of fun actually. All these Jewish girls used to come first thing in the morning to get their coffee. And used to be like, oh my God, that guy's so exotic. He's like so dreamy. The guy behind the counter at Starbucks. So it was a nice job. I got a lot of numbers there. But
Do you also remember your vices in so much detail?
It's a blur. Really. But the other cool job was, it was a place called Movies, Music and More, where all these students would come and rent out their stuff, and it was kind of slow. So I would just end up watching movies. So that was nice. Okay. I was also an assistant director and an unpaid theatre actor, and then now this.
What is your first memory of going to the cinema and watching a movie? And did that change you in any way?
I think my first memory of watching a film was watching Bombay to Goa. All the kids on my mom's side of the family, all the cousins, Farah, Sajid included, all of us were taken and we watched that film in a theatre. And I just remember, thoroughly enjoying it and finding Mr. Bachchan exceedingly cool from the word go.
Sure.
So that, for all practical purposes, is my first memory really of being in a theatre.
Okay.
I still remember there was a film called Resham Ki Dori and Manoj Kumar. And I will never forget till my death, that Ghana, Resham Ki Dori or Imli Ke Boote, there was a Ghana in that. And, so I was fascinated by stories. And we used to then replay it. So we used to do get up like, this is my beard, now you're not going to recognize me. So I become, like old man or something like that.
Yeah, that role playing was a very, very big thing.
Yeah.
Part of
Chor Police, the classic.
Right. Ranveer?
I grew up watching Hindi movies and nothing fascinated me more than Hindi movies, and not just Hindi movies, mainstream like Hindi movies like Shahenshah and Ram Lakhan and all these. So greatly influenced my entire life. I remember really enjoying Main Khiladi Tu Anadi in the cinema hall. I think one of the first few times I was actually allowed to go. The power of cinema, like Lagan, when I saw that in KT, I couldn't believe that, there could be this kind of experience.
Right.
And then the turning point was actually in university. I was doing a intro to film class, and we were asked to do a paper on Taxi Driver. And I saw Taxi Driver for the first time. It was the first sort of darkish kind of film that I had seen. Till before that, I was just consuming bubblegum, popcorn, happy movies with happy endings. So I was like,
Shahenshah's pretty dark.
really? But he's like a hero, yeah. So yeah, I was like, man, they make movies like this also. Then I had this vociferous appetite for everything that was unhappy, and then it just took off from there. I fell in love again with the movies after Taxi Driver.
Okay. Raj?
Well, my first experience of watching a film which really influenced me was Agnipath, and that I saw in my own place. And I remember after the film, I was like howling that, God, like, please let Amitabh Bachchan live. Why did he die? I was actually howling under my pillow. That was the magic of his performance, that I couldn't believe it, that how could he die? He can never die. So I was just really praying to God, please make him alive. Don't let him die.
When was the first time that you faced the camera? It may not have been professional, it may have been someone shooting you in a home video, but do you remember the first time you perhaps performed for a camera?
I remember somebody cheated me in Delhi, one of those really bluff production houses.
Right.
So I saw this ad in newspaper that they were casting for this television serial for ZTV, and I was in class 9th. I'm like, this is my chance, I can actually make it.
Okay.
For me, like television, film, all was same that time.
Right.
So I went there and they charged me some 10,000 rupees, and there were pictures all over Shakti Kapoor, with Amjad Khan and Raja Murad. I'm like, man, this is the place where I had to be. And they charged me 10,000 rupees, and they made one video with me where I just made me to walk in Kalindi Kunj Park in Delhi. We'll make a video for you, and that's how it happens. I was like, yeah, that's it. My life is sorted now. I'm there. So that's the first time, and I remember literally I went there after 1 week, and it was locked. There was no one there.
But did you see what they recorded?
Oh yeah, they gave me the VHS.
हाँ,
Yeah.
they gave it. So, वो तो है.
10,000.
कुछ तो मिला.
Yeah, कुछ तो मिला.
I was in National School of Drama and there was some series going on, and we were having vacations, and somebody told us that you can earn money, you have to play a policeman part, and I was supposed to enter in the house and tell him you are under arrest. So as I entered, मैंने यूं किया and मेरा my hand started shaking. तो उसका पहला उसका reaction था, यार किसको लेके आते हो यार. So I was so embarrassed. I said, oh, yeah, this is difficult. Film acting is very difficult.
Well, for me it was when I worked with this friend of mine, Anand Sorapur, actually on Fakir of Venice. And it was quite a surreal experience because when he actually pretty much forced me to do that film, I must say. It's a film that actually uses a lot of foul language. And just as a first step, you know, that this is going to be going out there and I'm doing maa behan ki galiyan,
Right.
you know, and it was just a huge thing for me,
Sure.
you know, to do all of this. And then when I started doing it, it felt kind of natural, you know, and it also felt comfortable and liberating in a way.
Right.
You know, it's a very liberating process to be able to be something you're not, or then be who you are, just as openly as you want to be. You know, depending on what part you're playing. And I really enjoyed that
Okay.
bit of it, which is why I felt like if things that are exciting come along, then I must go out there and do them. That's how it kind of happened.
I was about 21 years old, sir. I was Friday morning. I was asleep, and I get a call from Paris, from Shad, who I was assistant directing at the time, and and he was in Paris, and he called me. He was like, "Just get your ass to Paris right now." I was like, "What happened?" Now I knew that he had gone there for something called the Nuit Blanche Festival, which is a performing arts festival. They take these funded by the city of Paris. You know, they take these various locations around the city, outside a heritage, train station, etc. Performing artists from all over the world come and do their thing on one particular night. Everybody from France comes and watches them live. So Shad's performance was a mainstream Hindi film director showing you how a Bollywood song and dance number is made. So, cut, arey baby ko dab karo, all that is part of the performance. But what actually happens is that song actually gets made. So he had made this special song with Pyare Lal ji and Sonu Nigam had sang it, and he was already in Paris, and his French actor, a guy called Louis Garrel,
Right.
yeah, he pulled out at the last minute. So Shad was scratching his head. He was like, "Well, I'm in trouble." So he called me. He was like, "You have to get here now." Sent me to the embassy. I darted across the city, got it in half an hour, came back, got on a flight, listening to the song. The next thing I know, I'm in front of 30,000 people in chilly Paris doing Lagi Re Arki, Lagi Re Parki. So, and Akki Narula had made this elaborate sherwani, and he was like, and my best friend was his assistant director.
Okay.
So he's whispering, "This is what you wanted. This is your chance. Just go for it." So I'm looking at all these people, and they're all expecting that desis over there. "Hey, ye beta kiska hai? Kiska beta? Kiska beta?" So it was. I was just thrust into it.
Okay.
Saroj ji was doing the choreography actually, and guess who was the heroine at the time? Aditi Rao Haidari.
Okay.
So that was the first time I faced a film camera, action, cut. Saroj ji was not happy. She was telling the assistant director, "तू तो बोल रहा था ये natural dancer है, किसको खड़ा किया तूने?" They pitched it, your saviors coming from Bombay, and all that. I was freezing over there. But it was good fun, sir. Very memorable experience.
Okay, okay. Can you tell me what it's like when you're reading a script or hearing a narration? What are you looking for and what are you paying attention for?
You're looking for your own, entry point, or your own excitements, or your own how it's going to affect you, how it's going to affect the audience, and does it have anything for me? All these things, I think.
Same thing actually. Like when I read, I prefer reading a script rather than somebody narrating it. So I see the film as a story. Like what is it that it is telling me? Is it exciting me enough as an actor that I really want to be part of it? And how's my character in it? Is it something which will challenge me as an actor, which is something I haven't done before? So these are the two things which really matters to me. And then of course the production house. Yeah.
Right.
You know, I'm not very good at narrations.
Okay.
So I very politely ask them to leave the script and I read it, and which I do.
Okay.
And the thing is, yeah, but I completely agree. When you're reading it, I mean, you primarily are the first audience for the script from
Right.
your point of view. You know, so when you're reading it, you're like, is it affecting me? Is it moving me? Is it making me laugh where it's intended to? You know, and at the end of it, how do I feel about this reading experience that I've had? And if it feels good, as you know, it feels like, wow, this would be something fun to be part of, something exciting to be part of. I think that's when you also kick in with, what am I doing in it?
Only problem with narration is, I'm still not so hardcore that if somebody starts a narration, and at that time I realize whether my body really needs sleep. Sometimes you're not sleeping, and when you're concentrating at one point, then sleep starts kicking in, and then you have a hard time to, oh, it's coming. So then you start doing this, and पानी दिया, थोड़ा सा हाथ डुबो के हल्का सा ऐसा किया. But then, it's like when you're driving and the sleep starts kicking in, you can't fight with it.
Right.
It's, and literally once it happened, I don't want to name the film.
Okay.
That guy was after me. I said, this is not working, the subject is not working. He said, just give me half an hour. He came and started narration. So my better was better, then I started like that. When he went away, I don't know, I slept. And I feel so bad. I feel so bad about
But
that.
did you get good sleep?
Oh, great sleep. Great sleep, It's like sleep starts showing here.
It's like you find new ways to yawn.
Yeah, correct. Absolutely.
Through your ears, through your eyes. It's like
Yeah, correct.
You know, Marlon Brando famously said that just because they say action doesn't mean you have to do anything.
yeah, absolutely.
That brings me to ask you about performances which are minimalist and performances that aren't necessarily big and showy where you have to do something really. Irrfan, looking at your performances in The Lunchbox, in The Namesake, it's very clear that you're able to convey so much by outwardly doing so little. Farhan, when we saw you in Zindagi Na Milegi Dobara, that famous confrontation scene with your father, played by Nasiruddin Shah, it's a big moment in the film. It's leading up to that moment, and yet you don't do very much and you convey so much. In Lutera, it's really a film where you perform, in fact, at such a low pitch that a lot of people complain that we can't hear your voice, we can't hear his voice. Raj, I remember my favorite Talash. There's a small scene in which your character, who's this cop who walks into an argument that Amir and Rani are having, and all he says is, "Main baad mein aaunga." And these are performances that really remind you that so much can be achieved out of so little. Can you talk about that and about creating big performances out of sort of a minimalist approach?
I think if Brando would have been in Hindi cinema, he would be out of job. I don't think he would have got any job. In Indian cinema, actors are always like magicians. They have to create magic.
Especially in comedy films in Hindi, I think it all depends on actor that you have to do comedy.
Correct.
Like it doesn't happen that way. You have to just react to the situation. Comedy will just create. But in India, it's all on the actors that okay, now do something funny.
Right.
And then it's never funny.
Sure.
That's a very relevant question for me, sir. I've actually faced criticism from an audience, from my directors for this because I don't know, I have some Suleimani Kida. You say action, I have to do something.
Right.
Like, I feel like raw stock is being wasted if I don't do anything. There is a breed, of actors who are non-doers, and that works for them. And then there are doing actors. I somehow, it bites me. I feel like if action is called, I have to do something. So I have to battle my instincts. It's actually damn hard for me to not do. And it also helps that they don't say action. If they just action.
Yeah, I remember watching Godfather making and Coppola explaining to Al Pacino, and he was just screaming. He was just whispering. And the whole set was quiet. Here, like a baby car, cha de.
That's true, yeah.
Yeah.
Matlab, to have silence on set
Wow.
is such a pleasure. Because you're absolutely right. Otherwise, what's happening is there is a wall of noise
Correct.
that's coming at you, and it goes quiet just when the camera starts rolling. And you have to gather all your thoughts, figure out exactly what it is you want to do within those milliseconds because raw stock is and come out with something, and that environment is a very scary environment to have to work in. It starts affecting you, and it starts affecting the way you want to do a scene. You start getting grouchy, you start getting like, I'm not ready,
Correct.
I'm being pushed into doing something.
Right.
And then you automatically start having reactions to things which are kind of off the cuff.
Right.
And then you're termed a brat, you're termed a snob.
Right.
No, seriously, nobody understands it. When that's
I understand you.
you understand, and he understands. But it's true. That silence on set is the most productive thing that can happen.
Okay.
Is to have silence.
Does transforming yourself physically for a role, does it make the entry into that character easier?
When that opportunity arises, when you can do something that allows you to transform the way you look, act, speak, dress, I think what it does is it does help to create a kind of a subliminal clue even for a viewer.
Right.
As to who this person is. I remember so clearly when we were shooting Zindagi Na Milegi Dobara, there were all this moment that there's a lot of conversation, you know, we'll be on the beach a lot and we'll be in shorts and, you know, this whole six-pack thing that's going around everywhere. You know, and like a part of you starts wondering, "Yaar, my beach pe what will it be like?" You know? And then I'm thinking like this guy is, through this film, he's drinking beer, you know, he's eating constantly. You've never seen him work out. You know, he's a copywriter who sits behind a desk. You know, why would he have a six-pack? You know, and I consciously said, I'll go, of course I want to be, because when you work out also your energy levels are high, so you can work. I said, but I don't want to get into a space where my body is going to start becoming muscular and I want to look like I have a beach body. I said, that cannot happen to this guy. You know, so these are, and when you see it, which is why I feel the character looks real. You know, the minute you saw him on the beach, you'd be like, why does he have this body? Now, maybe some people won't question it. I would question it. You know, when, like, for example, when you do it for a film like Milkha, you realize that firstly it's a lot of hard work to achieve that body, which should be a signal that's put out for people. You know, because there is, I mean, for whatever it's worth, if it becomes the fad that if you're an actor you need to have this body, the shortcuts that people are going to start taking to do it is going to be very, very dangerous.
Indeed.
You know, so it's important to understand that you don't have to have this kind of body constantly. It's nice to make it for a part, you know, when it's required, because that's when it's believable and that's when it's real. And you don't need to have it in every single thing that you do. No? You know, you're working, Vicky Beta works for construction company, but you know what I mean?
I think as an actor, it's good to be neutral.
With the towel and like full. You don't need it.
It's good to be neutral as an actor. You should have a neutral body, and you can just mold it any way you want.
How can you want the same body in every film?
Can a great performance come from a safe place? Does there need to be a little fear, a little pain to get a great performance going?
Mr. Bhansali believes that. He will make sure he puts you on the spot. He'll put you on the spot, he'll put you under pressure, you're back against the wall. That's when he feels your, you know, all your energies will come together to, you know, kind of project what he wants, because he wants it to come from a visceral life and death sort of place inside you. So he believes that.
No, fear is a great motivator, you know, but I think what it is you're afraid of is important to be thinking of. Like, your fear should be that I hope I've done everything that I could to make this feel good for everyone involved. You know, I'm not making the film alone. There's many other people who invested a lot of time and a lot of energy, you know, and passion into making this film, and I want to make sure that they feel good about me being a part of this movie. You know, with them. I don't have the fear of audience kya kahegi. That fear, you know, that doesn't come into my mind at all.
The uncertainty of exploring a space which is not familiar with you, it can't be safe. You know, and you can't keep on doing things which are safe. Then it becomes boring. The uncertainty of the filmmaking is something, you know, which creates a magic.
Well, I believe the fear should be there before you start shooting. And the moment you're on set, you're that part, I think then I would prefer to be really relaxed and to be not under any pressure to perform. I think that I really can't perform under pressure. If somebody wants me, like, you have to cry in this scene, and on this word you have to, the tears should come out. Really can't do that. I'm not a machine. I'm an actor, really.
How would you describe your state of mind on the first day of shooting a new film?
It changes, you know. But definitely first day you are detached. You know, you are trying to find, you grope in, you're trying to find your space. And I still remember first film. It's a Govind's film, Govind Dalani's film. And I still remember the guy who used to give the clap. He used to come close and he used to fatak. And then I still remember that, you know, he said action, and I could see the chalk cup powder still going on, you know. And he used to say, Kishore, tum dheere clap kyun nahi de sakte? So, you know, you are just getting accustomed to things, and also you're finding your own space, you're exploring the character. Sometimes you don't give a damn, you know. Go with it.
Well, I like to come in as prepared as possible into the first day. You know, just I really feel that if you get that first day in terms of mainly equation with co-actors and director, because you've done a couple of readings, of course, and you spend time with the director, but dynamics change on set. What happens on that first day in terms of equations will more or less remain for the rest of the...
It sets the tone for the rest
of the
show.
more or less. I mean, of course, you may discover things about each other and things may possibly also change, but more often than not. And I don't mean in terms of ego equations, I just mean in terms of working equations. So things can happen. So to me, the first day, I find very, very important. And I think this probably also comes from having directed.
Okay.
You know, because I feel as a director, the first day that you work with your actors sets the tone for performance.
Right.
Because you can't act one day like this and say, actually that, you know, wo thode changes karenge, so suddenly in the next scene you're performing differently.
Right.
You know, that can't happen.
Right.
So I think maybe it's a hangover of that
Okay.
as well. So I just like to go in absolutely prepared. I want that first day to actually be possibly the best day of shoot
Sure.
that we can have.
Okay.
You know, after this, if things have to go wrong, don't go wrong on the first day.
Okay.
Let the first day be great.
Okay.
I wonder if people consciously choose that let's start this movie on this note. You know, perhaps start on a song,
Right.
or let's not do that scene first. Would you do that as a director? I don't know.
You know, it depended. Like, for example, on Dil Chahta Hai, I was very sure that I wanted the first week to be just about the three guys hanging out.
Right.
You know, that was very important to me because if they would do scenes in isolation, which they are reacting to something that's happened in a scene between the three of them, and they have no vibe going on, then how are they going to react? You know?
Right.
Yeah.
So it was important that I scheduled a lot of their stuff together.
Okay.
Similarly, on Zindagi Na Milegi Dobara, we did the same thing. You know, so it depends on the kind of film
Film it is.
that we're doing. Milkha on that level was very, very tough because the entire film was shot backwards.
Okay.
You know, because of the physical preparation that was needed. The nutritionalists, the sports people, all of them said that for his body to go from the thin guy to the muscular guy, it'll be better given the time frame that we have to work backwards.
Okay.
So we actually came and started doing scenes after he's experienced everything in his life.
Right.
And on day 2 was the breakdown scene at that village.
Right.
Yeah, it was day 2. So I mean, but then that's what it is.
Right.
You know, and so which is why I have to just go in really prepared. You know, and it's quite an experience.
Who's the one co-star who's helped you a lot in perhaps preparing for a character or in understanding a character or getting through a scene?
Are we allowed to say aisi naubat nahi
I think I can say in Shahid, I think the lady who played my mother,
Right.
Baljinder Kaur, I think she really helped me. Like whenever I used to look into her eyes, I used to see like my mother is there.
Okay.
So I think she really helped me in very small moments.
I still remember one gesture from Gabriel Byrne. He asked his secretary to give all his personal details like his mobile, his email, and he said, anything you need here in this country, please don't hesitate to. No actor has done that like that, in Hollywood especially. You know, you are very compartmentalized in Hollywood. That gesture
Right.
was something, created an equation between him and me.
The minute someone consciously says, let me help you, a part of you switches off. You know, because somewhere I feel, obviously everyone is there wanting to do the best that they can. And if someone makes you feel like you don't know,
Right.
you know, you're unwilling to listen after a certain
Sure.
point. So it has to happen in a way that is very organic, I feel. Because I remember even when I was working with Nasir on Zindagi Na Milegi Dobara, I mean, we would sit outside in the garden and he was just talking about theatre and talking about different things, you know, and you just watch and he's talking to you about, you know, a play that he did there, or you must come and see this play that we are doing, it's about this, and you just see the passion for it.
Right.
And I think that is infectious. And when you feel that someone is so passionate after so many years of also doing something, you know, we are just young and getting started, so we must also stay committed. You know, these are like the signals
Right.
more than anything else.
Well, I learn a little bit from every co-actor, but I think I've learned the most from Anushka and Deepika. I think first movie, you know, I used to come over prepared, and once I remember Anushka taught me some pointed out a very bad habit of mine. She was like, "Stop it! I see what you're doing. Stop it!" So I was like, "What? What am I doing?" She was like, "You're talking at me. You talk to me. I can see your gaze is ending here. You're not looking into my eyes. You're not connecting. So stop it." So she used to call me out on all my bad habits,
Okay.
and that would teach me a lot. And then on Ram Leela with Deepika, because you know there was like, okay, where we were always like put on the spot, you know, always under pressure. So we were always there for each other. How many ever retakes you want to do? I'll come give you your cues with that much emotion. If you're finding it tough, talk to me. So we were there to comfort each other because you're always put on the spot, you know, in that kind of film. So little bit learning from everybody, but I've learned the most from them, and also from observing.
Is there a piece of criticism or rejection that hit you so hard that it stayed with you?
it happened like once or twice that people told me that you're not that fair, so you might not fit the part. So I think that fairness thing is very much in our country, which I don't like.
So, but you're looking fairer with the.
Yeah.
I saw you earlier. Yeah.
Maybe I'm doing something.
Staying on the
I think
in the
fairness comes with the more you work, you get more fairer.
No, Fair and Lovely.
No, please, never gonna do that.
Really, anybody, it's a terrible
Yeah.
mentality.
I remember when I was drama school, in another vacation, I got this job, and one episode, some comedy episode, I was playing a small part, and I was supposed to be paid 600 rupees or something. At the end of the day, they paid me 300. I said, "Okay, but 600 आपने बोला था." बोले इतना गंदी एक्टिंग करते हो। बोला आधा पैसा दे रहे इसलिए। I don't know, मतलब they were trying to save the money or, and I was, so that stayed with me, and I enjoy that, because when you see all these things in retrospective, it's fun. It's a process. Actor has to go through some kind of humiliation.
But now do
It's
they
a
give you
job,
more money?
Yeah?
Now do they give you more money because you're acting
No, still they
so
don't.
nicely? And
They don't say कि half for money, but yeah.
Yeah, but I think what Irrfan is saying, just to build on that, it's amazing how you can take something that's kind of negative out there, and really take it, twist it, and make it into fuel.
Sure.
To like really do something.
yeah, right.
And this, when you were talking about this, it actually reminded me. I remember when we went for the to announce the Milkha film, we went to Chandigarh, and when it was announced that I'm playing Milkha ji in the movie. So we've gone over there, and there's some press contingent that's come from different parts in the north. And this one girl stood up, and she said, "But why have you taken Farhan?" She's asking Rakesh, like, "Why have you taken Farhan? You should have taken a Punjabi actor, to do it." And she took a couple of names of some Punjabi actors. Right. I was just like, like you've not seen the film, you don't know what the script is, you don't know what preparation is going into it. Why have you got this like preconceived notion that only a Punjabi actor should play this role because he's Punjabi, because he's a Sikh? So something stayed with me. There was a little irritation that I felt when she asked this question, because it kind of made you feel that they're not confident that you can do it. That's the feeling that you get, And I really used that, and I was like so happy. I remember when the film released, we went back to Chandigarh, and I was really wanting to meet her. And I was hoping I never mentioned this to anyone. This is the first time I'm talking about it.
Okay.
And I was constantly hoping that I hope that girl is there, I hope that girl is there. And she was.
Okay.
And she stood up and she said, I was the girl who had asked this question. Before I could say anything.
Right.
She said, I was the girl who asked this question. I want to tell you that, I'm really sorry, you did a wonderful job.
Right.
Yeah. And so I was like, good on you. So,
All the times, as an actor, you face rejection and you've got to learn how to absorb it and use it positively. I remember being in a theatre workshop which was a 7-day workshop. I was the butt of that workshop. I used to not understand all these things, that these really arbit things that all these people used to do. So I used to be lambasted. She used to go, "Oh my God, you are an eyesore." I used to get lambasted, and she was like, "You should do Bollywood." So that's what you're cut out for.
And you took it seriously.
And then when the posters of Band Baja came out, I remember I was at a PVR and there was a standee. I was so happy, man. My first film, my standee, and there was this cackle of girls who was walking by, and they were like, "This is the new Yash Raj hero, yuck." So I was like, that kind of stayed with me. But yeah, every little bit of rejection that you do get, you have to absorb it and learn how to use it positively. You have to be very thick-skinned because you're being judged at every level. And now with social media coming into play, it's like everybody has a megaphone and everybody has a platform to judge you, and it gets heard. You have access to it even more easily. So you have to develop a tolerance for it.
Sure. What's the one part of your job that you really hate?
Promotion.
That was fairly unanimous.
Yeah. Salesman bana diya hai, yaar, kamal hai. Yeah, I haven't done so much work. The amount I've spoken about the work I've done is an imbalance. It's really ridiculous. I hope someday I'm established enough to maybe start a new trend, of not doing it. It's really pakawing.
No, it definitely, it's become a monster. the whole process of doing it. There has to be a better way. And
There has to be
Because
better
it
way.
is
There are
key
better
to,
ways.
it is key
Of
to
course.
talk
No,
about your film
absolutely.
and
Correct.
entice your audience.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But I think that there has to be a more organized way
Right.
of being able to do it, where the talent, the crew, they do not have to kind of sell their soul to market their movie.
Sure.
And at the same time also not have to keep answering the same questions. There has to be a better way
Right.
of being able to do it. We of course want our words to reach everyone.
Of course.
I feel that people connect with the trailer of a movie.
Yeah,
And they decide when they see that first trailer, I want to see this movie or I don't want to see this movie.
correct.
Then you can try your best to
Change
convince
the impression,
a
sure.
percentage of the naysayers or the people who said
Right.
that they don't want to see it with maybe the music of the film or whatever it is you're doing. But the ones who've committed to it on the trailer will come and see it. No matter how many interviews you do and no matter how many channels you go on to,
Right.
the ones who've decided will come, and the ones who've decided they're not coming,
Right.
no matter how much you try and tell them, आके देखो ये सबसे दुनिया की बेहतरीन पिक्चर होने वाली है, they'll be like, नहीं भाई साहब मुझे माफ कर दीजिए.
And also we don't have indigenous thinking in these things. Like we have films which is 10 crore film, there is a film 100 crore film, the but ticket is the same. Ticket like the
Right.
100 crore film, they can raise that ticket, but there's no thinking that this is a smaller film, so we could have a possibility of having bringing the audience in with a lesser price.
Right.
Same thing with the promotion. They have a formula. Now nobody's thinking about it. The formula is put on everything.
Talking about those templates, promoting Lutera, for instance, was quite difficult. What the tone of the film, I can talk about it, but you put me on a very mainstream, happy platform,
Right.
and I don't know what to tell you about this film, Lutera. It's really not for everybody who's watching. So it gets difficult. There has to, like you said, some indigenous plan and something that's unique to each film.
Finally, if you could go back in time, who's the one person you'd be most curious to meet or to have known?
Michael Jackson. He's just the most electrifying stage performer, and I don't know, the kind of position he enjoyed globally, just to have that kind of connect with such a vast number of people,
Sure.
He would have so much to share. And to me, he's genius.
I would like to meet actually two people, Daniel Day-Lewis and Meryl Streep, and just want to ask them, like, how do you guys do it? Like,
Okay.
just tell me.
Lucky for you, they're still around, so hopefully you'll still get a chance. Yeah.
I would have loved to just have been a fly on the wall in Groucho Marx's writing studio.
Sure.
I think that would have been pretty special to
Okay.
have just been, I don't know, just watching him, because he's an amazing writer.
Right.
And the gift that he had of repartee,
Right.
and more than in his films, when you read his books and when you see a series of letters, for example, that he's exchanged with his daughter,
Right.
which has now been published. It's phenomenal how his mind worked.
If I had to get a chance to go back in time, I think I would love to see Jim Morrison's concert. I would love to
Oh, right. Party with Jim
see
Morrison.
him just sing, and going berserk on the stage and falling and going into a different space.
Well, thank you so much for opening your hearts to us. Thank you so much for allowing us into your process, into how you create the enduring performances that you do. Thank you so much for being here at this roundtable. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.